Hello, my name is Dr. Shambles, and today, or in this video, I'll be talking about the red-purple law strategy. This is the OP05 strategy and not OP04. In my honest opinion, you don't play this guy up until OP05. I think he is very weak on OP04, but I think he's a very much slept on meta deck in OP05. In my personal experience, I haven't lost with this deck for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm having the biggest streak of luck in my entire life, but yeah, I haven't lost with this deck yet against OP05 decks. This includes Purple Luffy. This includes the Purple Luffy and the NL, which will be very prevalent on the OP05, as well as Sakazuki. I actually haven't lost against him yet. These three leaders will be very popular on OP05, and I still haven't lost with them, which makes me believe this deck and this leader, this strategy is very strong on OP05. On OP06, we still don't know by the time of the recording of this video. I would also like to say that I believe you don't see that much play of this leader, because I don't think people have found the right deck list to play him, the balance ratios and so what, and so you don't see that much play. So I believe he'll be on the same level as Rebecca. If you don't know, Rebecca on OP04 was not that much played on the East up until the second half of the set, because people did not know how to play her properly yet. But once they found out the good ratios and the strategy and had mastered it, you saw a lot of Rebeccas and a lot of winning decks with Rebecca. Once the OP04 was released on West, you saw right away many Rebeccas being played, and many winning decks with Rebecca as well. I believe this is the same situation with this law. I believe once people figured out the deck list, the core ratio of the deck list, they have somewhat learned that a little bit. But once they know the strategy, the balance it out, I believe this is a very strong contender. This is to warn you that the deck lists you see here, very subjective. I'll be going through a lot of fucking cards. Sorry, I should not say the F word. A lot of cards. The people like to play this deck slower, people like to rush this deck a lot more. And I'm using this deck profile. I think this deck profile is very balanced and helps you a lot against the very diverse colors on the game. So I'll be not going every matchup like I did on Red Green Law, because I haven't played against, besides the popular decks, Sakazuki, Purple Luffy, and NL, as well as Katakuri. As well as Katakuri. This one I haven't played against much variety on the East, besides maybe some Red Purple Luffys, which I will say right now, my feeling is this law gets a bit countered by this Luffy, by this 6k Luffy. It's a hard matchup for the law, at least from my early experience a bit. So I'll be talking about my deck list, why I picked the cards, why this ratio, and I'll be going to explain some other popular cards. I'll feature one right now, which is this Brook, which is popular in some deck profiles, and another is the where is it? Oh, the Beppo. There you go. This Beppo. You can see he's not on my deck profile, and it's Jinbei. I'll explain once I get to him. So first, Otama, staple of the deck. Although with Red Green Law you can bounce the Otama and use the both effects, which means on the play effect and the 2k counter. On this deck you have to decide, because you cannot bounce it back. But using it as such as 2k or as a bounce is or sorry, using such as 2K or to on-play effect or the on-play effect, very good. I've used it a lot. It helps. Putting on play and not saving it in your hand doesn't hurt the deck, to be honest. But this deck has some 2K problems, 2K counter problems. You don't have many. You have the Otama, I'm using the Sanji, I'm using the Jinbei, and I'm using the Sashi and Penguin. But besides that, you kind of have to use your blockers a lot more with this deck. It gets what you feel is that against red color, you do miss out on these 2K counters, but the rest not so much because they are slower strategies. But yeah, staple of, you need 4 of. Everybody uses 4 of in this deck. She has great chemistry with Law. The next is 2 Sanjis, the 2K Sanjis. I'm using these ones right now, but I've been thinking about using the 2 events which are 1 guard point and 1 radical beam instead of the 2 Sanjis. Either way works, to be honest. There are some situations when you do feel like having that red beam would have saved you, and there are some situations that having that 2K and not having to spend the 1 Dawn to get the effect of red beam does help more. So it's very subjective. For now I'm using the Sanji, but honestly I'm thinking a lot of changing that, but we'll see. For now I'll stick with Sanji. It doesn't hurt as much as the deck. Now the Zoros, as well as in the green-red Law, they are subjective. On my profile of red-green Law I use 4 Zoros, on this one I use 3. This is the same reason on the green-red Law. If you're going on your locals, you see a lot slower play, maybe you want to put 4 to rush their life more, because that puts a lot of pressure. Or I've seen some people use 2 on this profile of red-purple Law, because they don't need the rush as much and they prefer a slower build-up strategy. And I think the 3, that's why I use 3, I think it's the most balanced ratio. If you come across a strategy that struggles with the rush, you have the 3. 4 I think is too much. I don't think, there are some deck profiles I use 4, I don't know. I never use that many rush Zoros, but they do come in handy, and that's why I use the 3 of, and not 4 or 2. But again, very subjective to your locals, the many decks that they are using, and your playstyle. Mine as actually trying to find the right. I believe if the community finds the right balance on this Law about building up Dawn and removing Dawn to remove cards to play to build board, like remove, because this effect of removing a card, and also after you remove a card you can play another card of 4 cost or less. If the community, and myself obviously, I'm working on it, find a balance where you can have a good ratio of regenerating Dawn, a good ratio of depleting the power of the opponent's cards so you can remove them with the effect, as well as building up board to keep the pressure on, I think this deck, it can be one of the strongest decks on OP05, or the strongest even. But that balance hasn't been found yet, and I'm still trying, as well as the rest of the community. But for now, I believe the 3 Rush Zoros, I think that it's balanced, at least for my strategy. The next, it's 2 Ace. I've seen people play 3 Ace, and some people play 4 Ace. 2 Ace is very rare. The reason why people play 3 Ace or 4 Ace is because of the Queen, or, this is another card that I'm gonna mention, the Khalifa, right here. These 2 cards let you, for sacrificing 1 Dawn, you draw 2 cards and send 1 card to your trash. This means if you have more copies of the Ace, once you draw with these 2 effects, you'll be getting rid of the aces that the aces that you have in hand. You probably only gonna play 1 during the whole game, so sending the others to the trash is a good trade-off for the draw 2 from these both effects. I've been playing 2 because my strategy with Queen, and even when I used Khalifa, is very on the moment strategy. This means I've drawn a lot, and normally if I search with Queen and I see the other, I'll just send the other to the trash, and then I'll just take away, if I don't draw any ace, because there's just 2 off, so it's rare, I just trash what I don't need in the moment. My strategy is more in the moment than thinking of early, mid, and late game. And this has been working super fine. If you make this playstyle like I am doing, you'll find that you don't actually need that much of the ace, which makes my point of using 2 much stronger. So yeah, using 2, if you prefer 3 for these both effects, it's fine. I've been seeing people not use the Sanji and use 2 Khalifa for the search, for the additional search with Queen, and that works fine if you're using more ace, because that means you have more cards that you can trash without even like having to think twice. Like you have 1 ace, you see the other, and just like, okay, just send this one away, you won't need it anyway. But yeah, the 2, I feel it works super fine. Gordon, this is a staple deck. I would also like to add, I've tried very hard to try and make some other strategy where you don't have to spend much money on the Gordon, because this card is very expensive, as well as Queen. The Kids and this Law and Zoro, these 3 haven't come out yet, or the Gamma Knife. I believe these 2 will be a little bit expensive as well, but not as expensive as these 2. And unfortunately, just like Queen, Gordon is a staple, you do need it. If I've seen the community disagreeing on playing him to build on the board if you don't have else to do, because they're afraid of removal. So for example, you place the Gordon on the board because you can't do anything else, and then he gets right away removed from your board. Obviously that hurts you a lot, because it's one of your main ways to take away power so you can use the Law effect. What I suggest you to do is watch out by the color that you are playing against. For example, if I'm playing against a red or red and sometimes black, depending on the leader, but mostly red and sorry, it's mostly red. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not using a script, so I'm just thinking out of my head here. Yeah, but red has a lot of easy removal and early game removal, which is what hurts you, and black depending on the leader. Yellow not so much, for example, because they have to sacrifice a life most of the time to remove you, so they end up not doing it on the Gordon. But that's a possibility as well. But for example, if I'm playing against a green or a blue, if the green is not using a very specific Wano strategy that rests your low cost characters, then I'll just build a board with Gordon and leave him there until I need him. The rest, I'll keep him in hand and only use him when I need him, when I need his main effect. So this is just a little bit of a tip to, if you need to decide whether to put him on the board and not use his effect right away or not. Now, this is very subjective. The 3 Trafalgar Laws from Event Law. 3 Event Trafalgar Laws red. Now, I'm using these 3. I am using a very similar deck list from Block 101, which is a channel of a store that focuses on trying to find the right balance for every profile. Right now they're focusing on Utah, but they were once focusing on this Law leader, red purple Law leader, and I found a player that was using just the 3 event laws and not the Brooks right here. Now, what I see many deck lists do is, if you play this event law, you also play the Brook. I've never seen people either play the Brook or play the Law. The reason I do it, and the reason I took this idea from the Block 101 channel, is because this helps you a lot, as well as Gordon, to decrease the power level, the power of the of characters, just like Otama, for the effect. Not only that, this has the advantage of building your board. Once you use his on-play effect, in the next turn you have a 5k swing. So this is why I use him. And the reason I don't use Brook, but many do with Law, they use this the same way I use the event law, which is to help decrease power, so they can use the Law effect. I don't use this because this is a very slow strategy, and my strategy with the rush Zoros and so forth is more rushed, just a bit more rushed, that it doesn't feel right to have Brook. Again, if you're in your locals, or if your playstyle is a bit lower, this Brook can be a very good card. You can get a lot of value if you protect this card, because every swing he does, he takes away 2k power. But because of my on-the-moment strategy, like I talked about, the Law feels better to play. So you just play him, you give that 2k just for the moment, and then you see the best way to go. Another advantage that this Brook has is it's 2 characters that it gives, not just 1 like Law. But yeah, I decided to take him away, just like the Block 101 profile did, and use just the Law, and for now this has been working super well. But again, if you want, that's Brook is a card to consider, as well as Khalifa that I've talked about for Sanji. Now, oh, another thing, sorry. This Law is searchable by this Law, by the purple Law 3 costs. So that's something to take in consideration, because Brook is not searchable in any way. Which brings me to Jinbei. For the same reason that you don't want to have this Jinbei, but you want to have the Beppo, it's because Beppo is searchable by the 3 cost purple Law. That's the only reason why you want you prefer the Beppo and not the Jinbei. I'm using the Jinbei because I bought the structure deck, which already comes with 2 Jinbeis, and in my opinion, I believe Beppo is a bit expensive right now for me. And that this search from the purple red cost Law it doesn't hurt. I haven't whiffed with his search yet. So the fact that it's not searchable does not hurt that much of the deck to me, in my opinion. But if I could, obviously, if I had the money, but right now I need to think a lot about my investments, I would take away this Jinbei and put the Beppo. It's just better. They both have the kind of the same effect. Beppo destroys board, while Jinbei just helps you with the Law effect, but Beppo being searchable gives you much more consistency. So yeah, if you have the 2 Beppo, I suggest you just to trade off. But Jinbei is a good alternative, and Khalifa also. Wait, sorry. There you go. Khalifa is also, she's 2k, and she'll help you with the search like Queen, like I've talked about previously. So yeah, these 2 are very subjective of taking out and changing them by the events or the Beppo. But I do believe that Beppo at 2 is the best choice, and if you have the card, you should place it. About the ratios, 3 Beppo, I think it's too much. I think 2 is just fine. 1 is useless and 4 is just too much. This deck doesn't have that much space for you to play the 4 Beppos, but 2 I think is the perfect ratio. Which brings me to the next card, Zoro. This will be released in OP05, and what happens is this card helps you about the Dawn grind, helps you get back Dawn. I've seen people play this at 4 and people play this at 3. I'm playing currently at 4, but I am considering a lot to play 3 of. The reason is his 4k power. That is a it's very hard to make him work with the swinging. The most optimal way to use his effect in swings is if you use him only to attack a character that's rested on your opponent's board, and even better, like for example, use Otama to remove 2k, and so Zorojuro will probably be in range to attack with just his 4k power. But I've seen many strategies, for example, Purple Luffy, I believe, I think that's a good example, I'm not sure, but the Purple Luffy, where even if you're decreasing a rested card attack and you attack with Zoro, they'll still protect it and Zoro just goes. So 3 of, I think could be a good choice, but right now I'm playing 4 of. And again, managing your Dawn is very important with Red Purple Law as well as Red Green Law, and sometimes giving one Dawn to Zoro to attack and regenerate a Dawn is not as much effective. I actually found more effective to just swing the leader with 4k, do not take a life, but take the Dawn. Sometimes just that's the best course of action. Unfortunately, obviously you want the most effect, which is make pressure with a 5k swing or 6k swing and regenerate the Dawn. But for example, against a red purple Luffy, I wouldn't advise you to think of that. I'll just swing to him, get the Dawn, count your losses and go home. That's pretty much it. But yeah, 3 or 4, I'm playing 4. It's fine. Another thing to consider when playing him at 3 is not searchable, and your only search is with this law, and he cannot search Zoro. What I've seen people use is this event here. Right here, when you're at sea, you fight pirates. I've considered using, but because of that fine line, that really gray area where you try to balance the regenerating Dawn, decreasing the power of cards and removing the cards, I felt that like this event, it's taking too much space, and so I decided to remove it. But that's something to consider. If you prefer if you really like to see Zoro, this is an event you should consider. And again, this just adds up to my argument that this deck list on this leader specifically is very subjective. We have already seen this event, Khalifa, Beppo. We have seen many cards that can be used instead of the ones I have here. Yeah, that's it. No, yeah. Another card, by the way, since I'm talking about events, Hell's Judgment or Hydra is something to consider. More Hydra. The reason, especially in OP04, if you're considering playing this leader on OP04, Hydra is a must. I'm sorry, it's the only way you have to compensate with Gamma Knife. The reason why you transition to Gamma Knife, simple. This is searchable by the law. This will not be searchable in any way. And the Hell's Judgment you can consider because he helps you protect yourself. Very underrated event for purple, by the way. And that's it. So, okay, so we've seen about. Next, it's a staple card, Trafalgar Law. This searches much of your deck. Your Heart Pirates, as you can see right here, these two are staple as well, and they're searchable by law. These two help that gray area that I've talked about, that fine line about regenerating and building board and decreasing power. These two help you a lot with the Dawn regeneration as well as building board. So, and once you add that with the Law Searcher, just makes your deck so consistent because this Law is a 5k swing. He's a searcher, he's cheap, and he's like the green film Nami, where every time you swing you search, unless if you have less Dawn than your opponent, which happens a lot, by the way. So yeah, he's a staple you need 4 of. And sometimes for consistency, people play him at 4 as well as like 2 copies of this event, or 4 or 3 copies of this event. This event is very subjective. I've seen it at 2, at 3 and at 4. But if you want consistency, this event with Law is the best you'll have. Another staple coming up, this is Kid Blocker actually. The Kid Blocker is insane. He helps you build board, he helps you sustain the Dawn like these 2 Heart Pirates, and he's a blocker, he protects you. This makes your job of, as I talk about, my strategy is much on the moment, since when he's on the board, it makes my decision of whether to just use my Law effect and take away my Dawn to remove someone from the field a lot easier, because I know I'll be regenerating at least 1 Dawn with this guy. And sometimes I find that his pressure with his presence on the field, it's so good. Like, I don't even protect with him or swing with him. He's just on the field, I put a second one and I'm just regenerating Dawn and I don't even need to use them. And it's insane. And the pressure he makes just by being on the field and the advantages he gives you, it's insane, and that's why it's a 4 of for this leader in specific. Not much to say about him. Next, it's Queen. Queen is in the same situation as Gordon. I've tried many times with with queen to replace queen with the shopper blocker. There you go, the shopper blocker, because queen is a very expensive card, especially after the ban lists. When they ban Nami and Danda for the week, the price has gone up and they haven't gone down yet by the time of this recording. And I was trying to find a strategy where I could keep the blockers, the same number of blockers. This means using like 4 shoppers instead of 3 queens, and maybe replace Sanji for Caliphus for the search. But unfortunately, queen is a staple. You really need him. I've seen people play him at 3 or at 4. I think 4 is too much because he hurts your Dawn sustain, and he doesn't regen anyway. Dawn, he's just a blocker, but he does help you on the search. But the fact that he hurts your Dawn is something that I took into consideration and made him a 3 of. Up until now, 3 of, perfect ratio. I've seen him every game. He gives me good searches. He plays well. He's just good. He's a staple in my opinion. But he's a staple at 3. But if you really like his ability and you feel like you need the 4th, you can play the 4th. Does not hurt that much the deck. But again, because of my on the moment strategy, the Dawn that he takes out does hurt my strategy a lot. Next, another staple. Shashi and Penguin. This card is a 4 must, is a 4 card must ratio. This card regenerates Dawn. It's a 2k counter. If you place it on the board to regenerate Dawn, you'll also have a 5k swing next turn. Insane, very good. You just need it. It comes on the structure deck, 4 of, so this makes it easier to acquire. I would like to say, do not... These cards, you put it on the board most early game. If you need to take someone away early game, you have this card, don't think twice. You play a card, you remove whatever you have to remove, and you play this card, and this regenerates to Dawn. If you do this early game, you'll see that you start building up momentum at the moment that you do that. So this card helps you build momentum early game, and it's a 2k for mid game or late game. But yeah, I actually found it much better to put it on the board to regenerate Dawn than it has a 2k. But obviously the situation changes depending on the matchup. Another card is a card that I've seen people play 2, 3 and 4, which is the blocker Trafalgar Law. I am currently playing 4 because of one color in specific, which is green. Green takes advantage of having many cards in hand and taking away their life early, so they have that hand advantage. And this card is a must because it takes away that advantage. And I used to play this at 3, but with the rise of popularity of the Utah green leader of the structure deck right here, I found that you will need 4 of, but I've seen people play 4 or 3. 3 does not hurt much against this green color. Again, I'm only playing 4 because of the green color. And I've been seeing people play 2. Maybe their locals doesn't have much green color. I like the 4. If you don't use his ability to take away hand, you can use him as a blocker. Or a 5k swing. I've used him as a 5k swing as well. But yeah, that's something to consider. If you have a lot of green players in your locals, this card will be a menace to them. And in my opinion, a very underrated card. People play 2 of when they're playing 4 of Zoro and 4 of Ace most of the time. Or they're playing 2 of the Law because they're using this event right... where is it? This event right here. So yeah, people will adjust the ratio based on these 3 cards, on the Zoro, Ace, and when you're at sea you fight pirates cards. At least that's what I've seen people replace it the most. But I think 4 is fine. Although I don't have many green players, I do have a guy who plays green, but he recently changed to Katakuri. I don't know what he's going to play on OP05 because this is a list pre OP05, and right now I'm still trying to find balance. But maybe going to locals with it will change my opinion on the ratios and cards that I'll be using a bit. But for now, the 4 it works pretty well. Next is a staple, Beppo. You'll have it at 4 if you buy the structure deck. This guy is, in my opinion, the MVP of the deck. Oh, I love my boy. He's super strong, super strong. You can use him early, mid, late game. It doesn't matter. If you're playing, normally when you play him late game, that means you already have such advantage that you're just putting more bodies on the board to make even more pressure to keep the momentum going. If you're playing him early game, is to sustain your Dawn and have that early 5k swing. If you're playing mid game, it can go either way, and you're probably using to keep the sustain on Dawn and because you need bodies to swing, obviously. But that's the situation I've been using. I use him in every time I can put him on the board. I put him, even if he gets destroyed after by removal or something. Him giving that Dawn keeps you on the match. He helps you a lot. He's in my opinion the MVP of the match. And finally, the Gamma Knife. This is a card I don't believe will be very expensive. Because it's only usable on the Law. It's searchable with this Law, but again, this I've seen people, by the way, thank God I didn't forget to mention, I was afraid I was. People use the Gamma Knife as well as Round Table. I do have 4 copies of Round Table. I did used to use 2 of them. And Round Table is very good if you're playing against Yellow and Whitebeard, maybe Purple Luffy, but when I used it, I used to use more on the Whitebird and Katakuris and such. This removes 10-drop Big Mom. This removes every card in the game because you deplete their power by 10,000 and you Law effect easily in anybody. So yeah, you can consider using. I decided to take it away to find that fine line of consistency, Dawn regeneration, building board, and pressure. And once I started doing that, I saw that maybe having Round Table is not so good, and the 3 of Gamma Knife is enough. I am thinking though about adding a 4th Gamma Knife and taking away a Law blocker or a Zoro. Very inside, because I don't know how to explain, but there are games where I see it so much and there are games I don't see it, and I think having at least always 1 in hand will always come in handy. So I'm debating very much whether to have 4 or 3, but for now in the matches 3 has been working fine actually. So for now we'll be at 3. That's it. I think I went through all of the ratios, all of the strategies. I'm gonna reinforce my argument that very subjective with all the cards like Brook and Khalifa that you can add to the deck and replace this. This has been, I think right now this profile has great balance and it can build up great momentum. Right now the only struggles I have are against Whitebeard and a 6k Luffy, just because of the 6k. I find it very hard to swing with 6k with these characters because of the Dawn you use for the effects. That's a struggle I have. The rest I've been winning a lot. Again, I haven't lost, so I have won against the Whitebird and Luffy, but I do feel much stronger. I actually believe I won against 2 Luffys by just mere luck. And my friend does play this Luffy, by the way. He's playing on the simulator, try him out, and I have lost to him, with the Law. The reason why I'm not counting is because he knows my deck profile and he knows my strategy very well. So he has that little bit of advantage. Well, going against random players, for example, they don't expect this Law to be dropped and gets them off guard, and this Law helps me a lot against the Luffy and the purple Luffy. So yeah, this is a strategy. Again, I'm gonna tell you, try not to play this on OP04. I think I have a list here. There you go. I'm just gonna go over here a little bit, but I think the deck just gets strong on the OP05. But I tried this. This is the best deck list I could manage to work on OP04. I know people on OP04 are using the Whitebird cards, Izo and Marcos, and obviously the Aces as well, and Vistas actually, but I've tried it. I think the deck gets too slow. You don't idolize the removing cards with the effect of your leader, and so I find it to keep it simple. And as you can see, I'm not even using the Queen. I'm using the Chopper because of the Nami search. Nami searches a good amount here. I don't know, it's still very mid in OP04, but if you want, here it is, the deck list. Another card I'm gonna mention is Jinbart. You can use Jinbart in OP04, or OP05. On P04, you really need him because you don't have search and you don't have that much dawn regeneration, because you don't have the blocker kit. On OP05, it's subjective because you do have the kit, but you can consider the Jinbart because he's searchable with the Law Searcher. So that's something you need to consider as well. But yeah, thank you for watching. I know this was a very long video, even though I didn't even get to the color matchup. It's just this deck list is very subjective. It's gonna change yet. It's still gonna change a lot because I believe people haven't found the balance for it. But if you are thinking of playing this guy in OP05, I'm gonna strongly tell you to. Very strong leader. I'm having tons of fun. I have tons of fun with every Law leader. That's the emphasis on my channel. And thank you for watching. Bye bye.